Chosen one, this message has been trying to reach you, not for days, for months. The fact that it arrives today, with this level of urgency, with the specific framing of one day remaining, is not coincidence. Something that has been working against everything God has said over your life knew that if this word got to you at the right time, it would destroy the plan that was made against you before it could happen. You have 1 day. There are exactly 21 days left until either the biggest change in your adult life or the execution of a blow that was carefully planned, timed, and meant to make you say the words they already wrote for you. I knew it wouldn't last, and now everything depends on what this message means to you. This wasn't whispered by God. He told you to do it not because he was mad at you, but because he felt like a father who knows his child is only one choice away from something he planned before the world was even made, and will not be quiet while that moment passes without being received. He is being clear about what he means. It's not the same kind of hope you've heard before. The right word has been held back until this season, this version of you, and this point to be delivered now. The right word for the window your endurance opened. A window that will move if it goes by without being received. Stay until the end. Today, what God is telling you was always meant for you. It has to be sent to you today at midnight. Before we do anything else, I need you to understand something about this moment. The Father doesn't send important messages to people who aren't ready for them. That's not how he acts at all. Every important word in the Bible was sent to a specific person who had been trained for years to carry what was coming. And you may have been built during times when it felt like you were breaking instead of building. He doesn't waste any of it, though. Not a single prayer said in the dark. Not a single act of faithfulness that no one saw. It wouldn't have made sense for any of them to stay when they could have left. He saw everything. His words today are a direct response to what he saw. Let me tell you who I think this is going to. Not as a group, but as a clear term that will lead you to the right place. You've been true to me for a long time. Not completely faithful, because no one is, but faithful in a way that most people don't fully understand. You carry something heavy that doesn't have an easy name. It's not exactly sadness, not quite anxiety, and not quite disappointment in a certain thing. This feeling is more like being in the hallway between seasons and knowing there is a door ahead, but not being able to see the handle yet. You've been in that hallway for so long that even your patience is wearing thin. There are times when having faith that used to be easy costs you something real. When praying used to come naturally, but now needs to be worked at. When the quiet, knowing that kept you going in the beginning of this season, has faded over time. It's not because you stopped believing, but because believing without seeing proof carries a weight that builds up over months of silence. You know this weight. When you just did what you had to do without feeling anything, you learned that being tired is not the same thing as failing. This is proof of someone who stayed even though there weren't many good reasons to. There is no conflict or anything that can be explained at a dinner table as to why you have pulled away from people who used to know you well. It is because you are changing in some way. Friends and family who loved the old version of you can't fully see the new version of yourself yet. They expect you to still be the person you are becoming. That gap makes you feel alone, and you've been living in it without being able to name it, carrying it with all the other things that are weighing you down. You're not hurt. If you're chosen, you live in the season right before the door opens. You are in the middle. Some things you believe God for that not even the people closest to you fully understand. You carry it by yourself in peace. You've let it go, taken it back, and let it go again. Some days, you're not sure if you really believe or are just hoping that you will believe again. You care about that difference. One thing the Father has been paying close attention to is how you refuse to act out a faith you aren't fully feeling. I'm not disappointed. I'm filled with the kind of love a father feels for his child being honest in a time that hasn't yet become clear. Type 444 in the comments right now if that's you. Kendley type 444. Not as a performance, but as a sign between you and heaven that says, I am here. I am the one this word was sent for. A false voice will try to get past what just happened. A voice that wants to be ignored whenever something feels too true to them personally. It'll say this is too broad. This is what every spiritual message says. You don't have to fight that voice yet. I just want you to be aware of it. You will know exactly what it is, where it came from, and why it has been interfering with you so much by the end of this message. For now, stick with what you have. Keep up with the praise. The dad doesn't start with recognition as a method. It's what he starts with, because it's true. He sees you. He has seen you all along. What he's about to say will give you what you've been looking for a long time. In the old records, there is a man whose story matches the frequency that God is letting out right now. He's a king, you know. The years before the crown are what I want to talk about. not the giants or the palace psalms, not the events that history remembers, the years spent in the field that weren't exciting enough to be the main story, but were necessary for the main story to be able to happen. His name was David. A long time ago, before he was king and beat Goliath, and before he wrote the Psalms that people still sing. He was a shepherd sitting under the stars and listening to the sky. He said prayers out in the field, but no one confirmed them. The prophet Samuel anointed him. He was the youngest son, and his father didn't call him in from the field when the prophet first came. After being blessed, he didn't go back to the palace. Instead, he went back to the field, where the animals were, and the silence that hadn't changed at all. Even though words were spoken over him, the anointing did not change his address right away. What he carried in the silence was different because of it. Most people who were chosen are living in the years between the anointing and the coronation. The years when the weight of the word itself is the only proof that something was said over you. Nothing else. Nothing that can be seen. Just the part of you that chose to believe what God said over what the field keeps telling you. David didn't know when the field would end. He knew what the word said, and it told him to keep taking care of what was in front of him while carrying what was inside him. And that is the unique burden and honor of the chosen ones in their field years. We haven't forgotten about you. You are being shaped into a certain type of person that the palace will need. I want you to understand that the formation during those years is not passive. It's active preparation for a level of accuracy that can't be reached in pleasant weather. David didn't just show up in the valley without any plans. He had already fought the lion and the bear without anyone seeing him. There was no audience, and no record was kept by anyone but the person who was training to be brave in a way that Goliath would need. He fought behind closed doors so that his faith wouldn't show in public. Do the same thing as every chosen person who is still here after all these years. The small victories and quiet acts of loyalty that happened in places where they couldn't get anything in return. That wasn't just filler between the important parts. Those were the real times. There is a word in the Greek text that says exactly what God is letting go of this season. It's called kairos, and one of the most important things you will learn from this message is what it means. Chronos is not the same as kairos. Chronos is the time machine, the normal pattern of one moment following the next, moving forward no matter how ready or important it is. Kairos is the time that was set, the exact moment when readiness and opportunity meet in a way that can't be made, rushed, or reached before the person who arrives is ready to carry what it brings. Sailors in the past used the word kairos to describe the exact moment when the wind changed and the sail could catch something that it hadn't been able to catch before. It's wait time if you miss the kairos. When you get the kairos, everything starts to move. God doesn't mean chronos when he says, you have one day. His name is kairos. This is not a due date on the calendar. It's a statement that the wind has changed. That exact point where who you are now because of everything you've been through and what your father has been holding is now. The chair is free. The sail is all set. And what God says today comes true when the kairos says it does. Not now that you're stronger. Not until the facts prove it first. Right now, in this exact season, at this exact point, with this exact load. Enter kairos in the space provided, as if your spirit had just told you that this is the right time. There is a like button below this message. Please click it right now. No, not to help the algorithm or a channel, but because what was just said is the kind of thing that needs your okay before it goes on. Click like to say Amen. Press it to say that what you just saw was real and that you are ready to receive the rest. When a chosen person hears God's urgent word in their kairos moment, something real changes in their life. Let me tell you exactly what starts to move. The relationships that were built on the old version of you start to shift again. At first, this doesn't always feel peaceful. Some will stay and get closer in ways you couldn't have imagined. They will become the relationship anchors you need for the next chapter. Even the ones that do fall will do so with a clarity that is different from other times they have been lost. It will feel like God is giving you permission. You should know that the relational architecture you need for the next chapter is different from the one you used for the last chapter. There is no loss in this recalibration. It's the farther space that makes way for the specific connections that the next work needs. It has been hard to tell where you are going. It was like reading a map in the dark. But now, slowly but surely, you can see better. Not in the exciting way the enemy wants you to think. So, when the movement feels too quiet, you don't pay attention to it. It makes the way dawn breaks clearer, first slowly and then clearly. The next step is clear in the morning, but it wasn't the day before. In the days that follow, the next one shines through. Every step that is taken and received opens up the next one in a way that no amount of work during the waiting season could have done on its own. You start to shift the energy that you've been putting into situations that were never meant to hold the version of you that you are becoming. A lot of your time and energy has been going into keeping things in place that your father has been trying to free you from. Not because they failed, but because they had too much. You grew out of what was holding you back, but you weren't ready to name it yet. You are given the power, voice, and history to build something. And when the Kairos word lands fully, that power comes back to you. The Father doesn't use a sense of urgency to scare the kids. This is important to get. Through urgency, He breaks the trance of accommodation that settles over chosen ones who have been in their formation for so long that accommodation starts to feel like giving up. In this case, the Father is not losing his cool. For this season, the Father is waking up the sleepy characters after their time has run its course. The interruption is the kindness. What He's saying now is the exact word that was allowed to be said during the interruption. Take a real breath before we go any further. This is your simple way of recognizing that you are here, that what has been said has been landing, and that what comes next will need your full attention. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community, through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site. You are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today. Join our community and see what God brings back into your life. I need to talk about something. I'm going to talk about something that a small group of neuroscientists found out about how the mind receives what God puts in it next, in this message. It has a direct link to everything we've been talking about. It has something to do with why some chosen people hear the urgent word and it sticks, grows, and bears fruit, while others hear it and it fades before morning. Hold this question for now. What if the reason you've been having trouble hearing and remembering what God says isn't spiritual distance at all? What if someone took something from you over a period of years that changes the way your brain is built and the way divine guidance comes into your conscious life? They found something that I will show you. Do not leave me now. The word that God is speaking today is not just for your spirit. To carry that word, you need to use your whole mind. What happens next has a direct effect on whether what was said today stays with you or fades by morning. There are two parts to what is stopping the chosen ones from fully understanding what the Father is saying. One is spiritual, and this message has been a spiritual conversation the whole time. The second is something that most spiritual writing never gets to. One level is neural and biological, and it has to do with something that was there in you from the start, but was slowly broken up by what the world did to your mind. It was given. Most of the time, spiritual explanations are given when chosen ones can't fully receive. When the word lands but doesn't root, or when the breakthrough starts but then ends. You need to give up more and pray more. Those are real things that matter. But there is a level below the spiritual that can't be reached by talking about spiritual things only. What you do when you understand that layer changes how you receive what the Father has prepared. I want to tell you about a woman. I'm not going to say her name, but her story is clear enough that you can tell it's true. She grew up in a family that thought they had what they called a family curse. Not in a dramatic way, but in the way that families pass down stories about who they are and what they own. For 22 years, her dad worked hard for his company, always being honest and reliable. This week, he finally got the job promotion. He had been working for more than 20 years. The business was shut down. He never fully got better. The family took it in the way that families take in things they can't explain. We were born under the wrong star. We can't get what we want. That's what we are. She kept that gift with her into adulthood, did their work with discipline. She prayed with all her heart and believed with the little hope she still had after all the bad things that had happened in her past. She watched as things that seemed like starts ended before they could become permanent. Some of the things she tried worked for a while. None of them made the long, lasting change she was hoping for. What she didn't know was that in the lab, what her family went through was called something else. It wasn't a punishment from God. It was a disconnect between the hemispheres. And even after she found what Dr. Barron found, the family curse did not just go away. It was broken at the base. In 1981, a study won the Nobel Prize. A lot of people who talk about spiritual growth won't talk about it. Not in most churches or other places meant to help people grow spiritually. But what it showed is one of the most important things you will ever know about how the mind that was made to carry divine word works. The study was done at the California Institute of Technology by Dr. Roger Sperry. What he found out is this: the left and right sides of the brain are designed to work together. A state of active harmony exists when both hemispheres fire at the same time. This sets off something in the mind that works at a level that neither hemisphere can reach on its own. The state that this causes has a name given by scientists who study it. It's known as whole brain activation, as seen by real people. This is what whole brain activation looks like. A test of creative intelligence given to kids at age 5 shows that 98% of them are creative geniuses. When the same kids are tested again at age 10, they do much worse. By the time they are adults, less than 1,000 people can still naturally get to that state. And the researchers weren't trying to figure out why some adults never got smarter. What changed between the ages of 5 and adulthood that stopped something that was there at the start? Biodegradation wasn't the answer. It was a disconnect between the hemispheres. As the stress and chaos of modern life built up, the natural synchronization that every child is born with was slowly broken. The smarts were still there. The switch was off. You've heard of the state that musicians, inventors, and athletes talk about when they are on the very edge of what they can do. When the right answer comes before the question is fully formed, and it seems like what is being made comes through them instead of from them. Steve Jobs said that it was the setting where the first iPhone was possible. That's the only state where Nikola Tesla worked. The old record is full of examples of chosen people who receive divine guidance with a clarity that most modern believers find hard to maintain. Based on research into whole brain activation, it seems that the wholeness of reception and quality of Shama that those ancient chosen ones felt were neurologically rooted in the same state. That place where what God puts in the spirit can go straight into conscious awareness without any problems and stay there with a firm foundation instead of fading away by morning. Scientists call this the genius switch in the lab. What I'm about to say isn't for everyone who gets this message. A lot of people will listen and then move on. You stayed, though. And the question that has been with you through all the seasons: why are some receiving times vivid and clear, while others are foggy and uncertain? Why do some results fade before they become permanent? There should be a real answer to that question. Dr. Daniel Barron, a neurologist in New York City, spent years in the lab making what the Nobel Prize research talks about into something that people can use at home in just 8 minutes a day. Not by taking medicine or using a clinical machine that costs a lot of money. Not through a discipline that takes months to show results that can be measured. He created a specific sound sequence, an 8-minute audio track that uses neural sync technology to connect the two halves of the brain and bring back the state of whole brain activation that all children are born with, but that modern life slowly breaks down. The name for it is the genius switch. Dr. Barron makes it clear what this is not. This isn't one of those approaches that only looks at part of the neural picture. The research that won the Nobel Prize is not about any type of passive listening to music. Sensing the hemispheres, activating the whole brain, and reconnecting the two halves of the mind are all part of it. This way, what you are meant to receive can reach you fully, take root, and stay. Because I know what some of you have been thinking. I want to say something before I go on. You've tried things in the past that said they would change the way your mind works. Some helped for a while. None of them gave you the permanent, rooted shift you were looking for. That sounds good to me, Dr. Barron learns that part of the reason he came up with what he did was because he tried different things and couldn't find anything that worked. He knew that approaches that only look at a small part of the brain's picture would always lead to results that aren't complete. The genius switch does not add another layer on top of an already incomplete base. Each incomplete layer was incomplete to begin with because of the way the structures were disconnected. People with a lot of spiritual depth who already pray, surrender, and receive add to what they already have, and what they get back is always the same. Not a different way of doing things, but a different way of being received. There was less fog between what the spirit knew and what the conscious mind registered. An experience of Sharma hearing with all of what you are becoming real instead of just something you hope to achieve. The people in the lab with Dr. Barron and his colleagues were the first to try out what they had made, and they all described the result in the same way. And they didn't even work together. All of it seemed a little magical, but not in a superstitious way. It was magical because what you always knew was possible became real to you all of a sudden. I'm going to be honest about the cost, like Dr. Barron is. Neurofeedback sessions, which are the same thing but happen in person, cost $300 an hour. A home device that does the same thing costs 7,000 Zendelosen. From the start, Dr. Barron wanted to make what took years to build available to everyone. So you didn't have to be rich to carry what you were made to carry. The main price on the list is $249. Because you're still reading this, an extra for 10 off has been approved by his team today. It costs $39 to get in addition to the 8-minute audio sequence that comes with 4 other free items. A guided visualization from one of the best therapists on the Calm platform. A grocery list of foods that make you feel foggy, along with tips that will help you save more than $100 a month at any big grocery store. A classic work on abundance that is more than 100 years old and forms the basis of almost every modern method for getting what was promised. And a printable habits guide that lists the 5 actions that are most often linked to moving toward what was intended. All 4 are included at no extra cost. There are no strings attached to the guarantee. 8 times or 80 times, you should listen to the 8-minute sequence. You don't have to pay anything if you don't think the difference in how you receive is real. You keep all of the bonuses. Each cent comes back. That's what Dr. Barron calls it, complete confidence. One important point to make clear: you can find a lot of tracks online that are labeled with words that sound like what I said. They have been looked at by Dr. Barron and his team. Most of them don't have any neural sync technology in them. Their name is meant to get attention, not get the result. You can only get the actual sequence, which is based on years of Nobel Prize winning research from Dr. Barron and his team. You can get there from the link in the description or the comment below that has been pinned. You should only do it if your spirit backs up what you heard. The door is open for the people it was put there for. If you get this, type Amen in the comments. Type Amen to show that you agree with what was said. Now, let me tell you what has been stopping you from getting the full meaning of what the Father is saying. Because the Word and the door have always been there, but something keeps getting in the way of the change taking root beyond the Word. It has a name. You can't just say that you don't believe. It's a more specific thing that sounds like protection, but acts like a ceiling. It has the clothes of wisdom and learned discernment. You've heard the word. You felt the change start. You knew you were on the edge of something important when you felt the warmth and pull of it. But then a voice spoke before the shift could settle. I've been here before. The voice said, this is something I've felt before. It didn't stay either. What if this is the same? The voice in your head is your doubt. It's also not your enemy in the way you think it is. It grew in you as a normal reaction to real disappointments. The architecture inside your head kept track of every time something that looked like a start ended before it become permanent. It made a list of what happened. It made a response that was meant to keep you safe from the pain of rising hope, followed by falling reality. Your defense mechanism, the doubt pattern, is trying to keep you from getting hurt again by believing before you have enough proof to do so. But this is where the doubt pattern stops being useful. It keeps track of what happened in the past and applies what it learned to the present without checking to see if the present is the same as the past. It finds the kairos by looking at the chronos from previous seasons. It looks at the appointed time through the lens of every missed clock time that has come before. This kind of interference with what God is releasing is the most consistent. This is because it sounds like wisdom, but is really just a cage made from your own past. That cage is open for you to leave. You can't fake confidence or ignore what you've been through. Instead, you have to give the specific knowing, the one that came when this word landed, instead of the one that came to explain it away. The honor of being seen as something different. You can get something that is actually new, even if it looks a lot like something from a previous season. You can trust things that don't need an argument. You can believe, not because things have shown it to be true yet, but because the Father said so. And the Father doesn't just talk to pass the time. You can grow out of your doubts. You are allowed to grow too, big for the spaces that were made for you before. When you needed protection, you can outgrow the relational architecture that held you back. That architecture now acts as a ceiling on the version that is becoming. You can receive what was promised during the season it was promised for, without having to wait for every situation to allow you to do so. You have the same amount of courage to step into the Kairos. David went into the valley not because the evidence pointed to a certain outcome, but because what was said was true. You're welcome to Shammah. I'm going to tell you who you are now, not who you are becoming, which is true. What you already are, what you've always been, and what you're standing close enough to now to be able to speak over with your own declarations. You see things, but not in the passive way of someone who sometimes notices things. In the active, commissioned sense of someone who was made to see things other people can't. To see the importance in things that most people pass by without noticing. To be able to read a situation, relationship, or season's spiritual vibe and figure out what it means before the visible proof is clear. This is something you've always had. The times you knew something before you could talk about it. The times when you felt a warning in your spirit before you could name it. There were times when you understood someone better than the words they used should have let you. It was like you could read something beneath the surface that wasn't showing. That isn't like most intuition. That's how the seer works. That's your calling. God is telling you today that the full scope of that sight is about to work at a depth that hasn't been fully opened yet in this season. If there is a voice in the room, it's not always the loudest or the first to speak. But when you do speak, your words have weight that goes beyond their normal form. There have been times when something you said to someone, almost by accident, hit them so hard that it surprised even you. When the words you spoke were just what the person needed at that very moment. It was like something that had been trying to get to them found its way through you. You were made to say what other people feel, but can't put into words. To say what your generation wants to hear, but doesn't have the words for yet. That is, God is telling you that the voice He gave you is not an afterthought to what He is building. That instrument is the main one, and it's time for it to work at its best. Breaking cycles is what you do. A pattern was set up somewhere in the history that came before you. A way of hitting ceilings and breaking through barriers before they became permanent. It was never yours to keep, but was given to you as an inheritance. Early on, you got the sense there was a script running beneath the story that you could see. To you, it was the quiet person who said, alone in the field where nobody cheered, not through me. This can't go on like this. That urge to refuse the ceiling you were born with is not a rebellion against your past. God has planned it this way. Right now, you were put here to be the one who breaks what was there before and builds what was meant to be from the start. Every small win, every prayer on the field, and every door the pattern tried to close, but you wouldn't let it. That's the work of the cycle breaker. The assignment had to be done. You're a warrior in the spirit world. Not the one that mixes up being forceful with being loyal. The one that stays put and doesn't fall apart. The version that, despite everything that was meant to make it give up, is still here after years of hard work in the field. Nights when nothing was certain, and seasons that tested a certain kind of endurance that can't be made in comfortable conditions. You know what it's like to stand when you weren't sure you had what it took to stand, to believe, even though all the evidence pointed against it. The person who has never fallen is not the warrior. It was the person who fell, got back up, and kept going in the direction the calling lead them. That's what you are. And the ground you've been standing on in the quiet is about to be used to build something permanent. In ancient Hebrew, the word shama meant more than just hearing sounds. It meant hearing the voice of God. Shama means to really listen. It means to receive with such fullness that the receiving itself changes you. Not the change of being able to understand better, but of being so open to what is said that it becomes a permanent part of your being instead of something that you only temporarily experience. God is not asking for attention when he says, "Listen to what I have to say." He wants to talk to Shama. His request is for the kind of receiving that the brain was made to do. The kind of truth that comes so fully that what God said becomes the foundation for the next season. You were made for Shama, and this conversation has given you back the ability to fully experience it. Before this message ends, I have something to say about someone. A chosen one whose story wasn't told to the public and whose breakthrough didn't get cheers, but whose testimony I hold up as proof of what can happen when the urgent word is fully received. During that time, he was going through a normal amount of confusion, not the dramatic kind that stands out. The confusion of a man who had been doing the right thing for so long that the difference between what he was doing and what he could see had become really confusing. He got a message telling him that the task he was given was clear, had a due date, and required a response that didn't seem like more work. Be still meant more than just giving up. It was a strategy for a chosen one who knew that what was being put together needed inner readiness, and that the noise of striving was getting in the way. So he withdrew for 30 days from the places where he had been showing his faith in public without having the private roots to back it up. He filled in the blanks between what he said and what he did. The door to the calling he had been carrying in silence for years opened from a direction he hadn't been looking in on the 31st day. He didn't make it up himself. He got ready, and what he had ready matched the readiness that the quiet had built up. Before going out in public, he proved himself in private. What he made from that door still won't close. At this very moment, I can hear the Father saying something special to the chosen ones who are hearing this. I didn't bring you this far just to leave you at the door. That which was said over you before you had a name wasn't a general blessing for a group. It was unique to you, your history, and the strength of will, sight, and voice that you've built up through everything you've been through. Every year that felt like a delay was spent shaping the character that the next chapter needs. Every lion and bear you killed in the dark was practice for the moment that was finally here. The 21 days you have left are not the days of the blow that was planned. Those are the days of the turnabout I planned. The charge against you was never stronger than the word I put in you before the world started. You have one day to fully understand this. You made good use of it. What I'm building in you and through you can't be moved. Before this message ends, chosen one, someone wants to say something over your life, but as a statement made in front of the person who holds the weight of what is true on behalf of the real, tired, enduring, faithful person who stayed through every word of this. You've been carrying a heavy load up to this point. You've always had some of it to carry on. A lot of it was never yours, though. It was given to you by history, expectation, and seasons that have changed you in ways that you are still trying to figure out, so that what God is saying can fully land and stay. What wasn't yours needs to be let go of. Take a real breath in and out, as the real recognition that you are here, that you are alive, and that the life you're living is real and worth what it was meant to carry. As you let out a breath, let go of the name they gave you when no one liked you. The failure is the person who tries but fails. This person is what the pattern looks for. Let those go as you breathe. They were never right. They were the things other people said about you out of fear, because they didn't know what to do with the person you were becoming. They're not what God wants to say. I swear over you that the sight you were made to carry will not be hidden. The voice that was put inside you won't shut up. You will not lose the ground you have held for years, even though it has cost you something. There were cycles that turned in generations before you, but they are breaking now that you have made a different choice, even though everything was meant to end it. The warrior in you is still here. This isn't by accident. You were told this word before you had a name, and it is still here by appointment. Your life has been confirming this word in the only language that formation speaks, which is endurance made clear. I am the seer. I'm the voice. I was always the most visible thing in the courts of heaven because of my faithfulness in things that could not be seen. What turned before me doesn't turn through me, and what turned after me doesn't keep going. I am the spiritual warrior, and what was meant to break me only showed how strong I really am. I have been picked. What it means is not as an aspiration, but as an identity, as a sealed, specific, real, and undeniable truth spoken by someone who doesn't speak carelessly. Type, "I'm ready," in the space below. You should type it as your prayer to God, because it is the word that seals what was said in Jesus' name. Yes. If this message made something clear that wasn't clear before, if something in you has changed since you came here, let your like be your silent Amen. Press like to show that you agree with what was said to you today. Not for the likes, but as proof that you heard it. Don't forget that the genius switch is not a trick. It's 8 minutes of sound that does what your brain naturally did when you were 8 years old, before the disconnections of modern life messed up the coordination that made whole being reception possible. You can get back to this message if you felt like you were meant for more than this season is giving you. If you want Shama, the whole being hearing thing that the ancient record talks about, to become a regular part of your life, this is how you do it. The description link and the comment that was pinned will take you to the page where Dr. Barron put it. You don't have to pay anything and keep everything if it doesn't work for you. The door is open for the people it was put there for. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. While you were getting this message, someone came to mind. A real person, not a made-up one. Something or someone whose face, name, or the shape of their silence caught your eye in the last hour. Someone who has been silent a lot lately. Someone who has the weight this message talks about. The weight that can't be seen. The weight that has no name. The weight that hangs in the hallways between seasons. The weight of endurance. And the person who still doesn't have the word that would describe it. Send this to them, not as a recommendation, but as the act of someone who knows what it's like to find the right word at the right time and wants the same for someone they care about. There is more to come for people going through what you are going through now. More words are being written for this season. Stay in touch. Today, what God is saying is the start of what He is letting go of. Stay put. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment, meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment, a place where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary where we discuss the Word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall. Share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit Out Community now, join the family, and see your heavens open.